So our focus is on providing value to all of your organizations. And one of the ways that we do this is by solving problems. So most leaders and executives aren't interested in technology. They're interested in solutions to their problems. So in this section, we're going to showcase 4 examples of how multiple ArcGIS components can be used to solve common problems in various industries by utilizing the science of where. And the first one that we're going to talk about kind of focuses more on the commercial side of things. And organizations of all types actually are responsible for providing products and services to customers in existing and new markets. So it's not just commercial, although that is the use case we'll be focusing on today. And expanding into these new markets involves the workflows of market analysis and site selection, and that can come in many different forms. So Harry's going to walk us through a use case analyzing markets and selecting sites for expansion using ArcGIS Business Analyst for web.
That's right. Thank you, Melon. So what we're looking at here is ArcGIS Business Analyst Web. This is a completely hosted web application that Esri provides, where you can just log in and begin to perform analysis on customers as well as market trends. So what we're going to do is dive into some of the main components of this application. One of the first pieces of market analysis is understanding where you would like to expand. And in this case, I want to expand into the city of Yucaipa, so I'm going to place a point at the city in one of the major intersections and create a drive time. I'm only going to create a 5-minute drive time in this location, and I'm going to drive towards the facility, and I'm going to use historic traffic data that Esri provides for this time of day right now, and then apply that 5-minute drive time. And there it is. So immediately, what I can do is gather information about the people that live in this irregularly shaped polygon. And I would like to do that by looking at an infographic. Now, you may recall in the ArcGIS Pro demonstration at the beginning of the day, we used infographics inside of Pro. The exact same experience is here within Business Analyst. So what a tapestry segment is Esri's classification of every person in the United States into 66 distinct groups. In Yucaipa, in that 5-minute drive time, this irregularly shaped polygon, the majority of the people there, at 34%, are called down the road. That's the segment that is there. So what does down the road mean? Well, let's take a look at it. Well, first and foremost, what we've done is we've taken pictures of the demographic and the socioeconomic status of this area and applied that directly to the top of the report. We see the number of households, the median age, and so forth. But what's also really nice is we begin to understand more about the person, not just typical demographics. For example, we do know that the unemployment rate in this area is 7.8%, which is higher than the US. The labor force participation rate is 59%, which is slightly lower. But they also put a premium on convenience rather than health and nutrition. So we're beginning to paint a picture of the people that live in that one small area right there. We can also see that their family market is primarily married couples or single-parent households. Their 4/5 of the households were built in 1970 or later. So this is a community that has older houses. Now, we also have the more typical demographic information, such as the age pyramid, race, ethnicity, as well as workers' occupation. So the majority of people there work in office or administrative support. But here's where the fun really begins. So what do these people spend their money and time doing? All right, well, let's look at this. So they've purchased a used vehicle in the past year, likely maintaining the vehicles themselves. They participate in fishing and hunting. They also listen to the radio, especially at work, and they prefer rap, R&B, and country music. They often prepare quick meals using packaged or frozen dinners, and their favorite fast food is burgers and pizza. So we're starting to understand the people that live there, not just how much money they make or how big their household is. And this is very important when you want to expand into a new market, because do these people need the goods and services that I'm looking to provide? Now, I will say, as a local city or government entity, it's also really nice to know what type of residents you have in your community. There's another way we can look at information, though, directly in Business Analyst Web, and that's through the idea of reports. So out of the box, Esri provides over 50 different reports. And some of my favorite reports are the retail good and services and the retail market potential. So let's run a report. And again, it's only for that drive time, no other area. So what this report is going to tell us is how many people are likely to buy something, and what does that mean for the average person in the United States. So let's look at the first section, bought men's clothing in the past 12 months. In that area, there's approximately 8,600 people who have purchased men's clothing, which is about 46% of the total adult population. And the MPI, which is Market Potential Index, means that 100 is the average American. So they're slightly lower than the average American to buy men's apparel in the past 12 months. But we can also see, if we scroll down a little bit further, that on households that own a PC or non-Apple branded computer, that their market potential is 102, which means they're 2% more likely than the average American to have purchased that recently. So this is one of the ways we begin to understand the buying power of the people that live in that area. Now, one of the other great things about Business Analyst is that it has thousands of data layers, literally over 5,000 layers. So for clarity reasons, I'm going to clear my map, and I want to begin to explore these data sets by creating a color-coded map. So in this case, I can search for auto, and I can see a ton of different information for market potential, like how many auto dealers are there. I can search for information such as insurance. So how many people have household income, or how many households have auto insurance on any vehicles, 3 or more vehicles, or how many have comprehensive collision. So I can map this out thematically across the entire United States. I'm not just confined to this one area in Yucaipa. Now, there's a couple of things I want to point out. What we're doing right now is we're looking at raw numbers. And looking at raw numbers can be a little misleading, because what this is saying is that in that red block group, about 2,338 people have comprehensive insurance. But let's look at percent of population. Now you can see the story changes dramatically, because even though there's not a high number of people that have comprehensive auto insurance, you can see the percentage of the people that live there do, with almost 64%. Now the other thing we can look at is we can look at the index value. And again, an index value represents an average American. And we're going to filter this to only show the areas that are above 100, which means they're more likely than the average American to have comprehensive auto insurance. And we can adjust this to whatever our needs are to really fine-tune the locations of the market. Now, the final thing I want to look at is creating another type of map. And that's called a smart map. So again, there are thousands of different data variables that are available, and we can browse all these different categories. For example, let's look at population data. But let's look at 2023 population data, because Esri forecasts what the population is going to be in the future. We can also look at information about our supply and demand. And we can look at information about total retail sales for just food and drink. Finally, what we can look at, and another data variable, is behavior information. So we can look at how many people have a smartphone. So now that I've selected these 3 different variables, the Smart Map Search is going to do an advanced definition query to find the locations on the map that meet my requirements. So in this case, we want to find areas that have a high total population in 2023. We also want to look at retail sales, where the block groups, they spend a lot of money on both the foods and beverages. But I also want to look at areas that have a high percentage of smartphones. And by doing that, I'm able to filter out all these different block groups on my map to find the ones that truly meet my needs. So this is just a quick example of the Business Analyst web app and how you can use it to expand into markets. But also, if you don't work for a company, a private business or whatnot, this is still very valuable for you as a city or a county to understand the residents within the area that you live. So Malin, back to you.
Yeah, so as Harry showed, Business Analyst Web is really easy to use, it's intuitive, and it's powerful. So you can really drill down to understand your market as well as your constituents if you are in the public-facing side of things. We do have, so what we showed was Business Analyst Web, but we do have another component with all of the same data sets that's called Community Analyst. It has, again, all of the same data sets. The biggest difference, I think, is the color of the interface. Business Analyst Web is a bluish color, and Community Analyst has a greenish color. So if you want to understand where you should host your next meeting, and you want to dive into understanding, okay, this is what the demographic that's really hard to get a hold of, what they like to do. They like to frequent coffee shops. Maybe you should host your next meeting in a coffee shop and that sort of thing. It gets pretty specific. And one other thing, if you want to kind of play around with the tapestry segmentation a little bit more, we have an app that's embedded into the tapestry segmentation webpage on Esri.com that allows you to look up your zip code and see what the top tapestry segmentations are. It gets pretty addicting, so be careful.